What's up, everybody? This week, we take a look at the first volume of one of the most successful book series of all time, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. That and a whole lot more spookiness is to come, because maybe one can never have enough socks. Welcome to the show. Especially living in this house, you definitely can never have enough socks.
Really, seriously, socks. Mm-mm.
No, if you want to know what to get us for Christmas, socks. Yeah, definitely. Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to this special Sunday episode of the Because Maybe podcast. A couple of reasons. We've had a little bit of upheaval in Castle Connolly, and then the wonderful people at whoever decided that our electricity wasn't working correctly and decided to blow it all up this morning. So we're recording today. Hope everybody is doing well, especially after the craziness that was this week.
Yes, this week has been one of the most trying in our nation's history. Yeah,
and just like we'll get to that very, very briefly. I want to do some happy stuff before we go into that.
Yay!
But first things first, we're going to have 3 episodes between now and next Saturday.
Ooh.
And they're all going to be centered around this wonderful Scottish lady's... That's right. We're going to be centered around this wonderful Scottish lady's vision of how children's books should be.
Yes.
I'm going to be joined by the wonderful Sarah, in case you haven't noticed. She's here with me today.
Hello.
But yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to release a special episode on the 31st.
Yay!
We were going to do Scream, and I know what you did last summer, but the problem was I thought I owned them. Turns out I don't.
Whoopsies!
And it's really hard to review something if you haven't watched it in many a year. So that's why we're not screaming. Also, some good news for all you people who like to listen to Spotify. We're finally on it! Yay! Still can't get on Google, but we're finally on Spotify. So guys, if you're on Spotify, look us up because maybe podcast. That now means that my little speech that I give at the end of everything is going to have to change. I'm going to have to get used to it.
Right.
But yeah, we're on Spotify. So guys, if you're on Spotify, that's your listening medium of choice. Go ahead, find us up on there.
Make a playlist. Play. Just put our episodes on back to back.
Yeah, I mean,
when you turn it down on low when you go to bed. It'll be fabulous.
We'll see how far you've become.
Mm-hmm.
How far we've become. From paper to film to paper. But yeah, we did mention earlier, right at the beginning of the show, the stupidity that has happened in the last week. And the thing is, my notes, because I block the episode, right? And my notes just say bombings. It's not just the bombings, it's the supermarket execution, and yesterday the synagogue massacre. I mean, guys, come on. This is not a right thing, this is not a left thing. Can we just get along? Like, seriously?
Well, it's thoughts and prayers are said a lot, and some people consider it trite, but, my heart breaks for the families who are grieving right now.
Oh, yeah.
And who are just trying to make sense of things. And our country is hurting right now. So let's be kind to each other these next few weeks. And even if you just completely disagree with someone, we can disagree without being disagreeable. And as long as their views aren't threatening your rights, then, pick your battles. You know what I mean?
We just all need to stop acting like children.
Right.
It's just is. I mean, I don't care if you're left-wing, right-wing, centrist, whatever. We need to grow up and start listening to each other. And stop going, well, this guy did it first, well, this lady did it. So what? That's not important now, It really isn't. I mean, the last 2 years, 3 years, Nazism's been on the rise, and now we have a massacre at a Jewish synagogue.
Yeah.
There in Brazil, a fascist is about to be elected as president, prime minister, whatever the leader is in Brazil. You see the nonsense going on in Europe right now. I mean, just stop it. Stop it. Grow up. You know. Anyway, sorry to get super serious on this, guys. You know, but this kind of thing really bothers me deep down. I know it bothers Sarah deep down as well. It's just, you know, we're better as a society. We should be better than this, or we should aim to be better than this.
Yes, definitely.
You know, it's, you know, one of the things I see when I say, well, you know, as a country we're better than this, and I'm like, no, we've always been like this. It's time to be better. You know, and I'm not just talking about America here. I'm talking about, you know, my people too.
Okie dokie.
So, anyway, that's the ranting and raving done. Anything happened to you since the last time we spoke to you?
To me?
Yeah, because it's been a couple of weeks since you and I have got together.
It has. Just, you know, same old, working on stuff, kiddos, things of that nature. Why? Am I missing something?
No. Just, you know, you have fans out there. I want you to tell them how life has been.
Okay.
But, you know.
So, I've got some graphic design stuff that's going to be hitting soon to an Etsy store near you.
Nice.
So, I've got NaNoWriMo. That starts on the 1st. So, if any of you are doing NaNoWriMo this year, hit me up, look me up. For a buddy, it's S Connolly 318. And, yeah, let's do this. Let's knock it out. All the words.
All the words. I'm trying to think, there was something I was going to say, but I completely forgot about it. Oh, yeah. Okay. This is what it is, right? And I'm not editing that part out.
Okay.
One of the upheavals in the house is we've been, you know, moving furniture around and everything like that. And yesterday, Sarah found the greatest 90s relic you could ever find in the history of 90s relics. Yes. I don't think we'll be able to cash it in or not, but, you know.
Apparently there's one left in Alaska.
Oh, well, we need to go to Alaska.
Yes. I have a coupon from Blockbuster for rent 2 videos, get 1 free.
Not DVDs. Not Blu-rays.
No,
videos.
Yes. So, for any of you, I don't know, I mean, I personally, when I saw that, got super stoked because all I could think of is the new Captain Marvel movie coming out. And that wonderful shot on the preview where, you know, she's like barrels into the Blockbuster.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm like, ooh, Carol Core. But, you know, that's just me. But, or it might be you too, you know, whichever. But that got me all kinds of silly excited and grinning. But no, we've just been, anybody who follows the podcast and who knows us personally knows that this year has been...
Yes.
There's been some upheavals, and we've lost some good people this year. And in that, you know, when you lose people, you gain their crap. And nobody really tells you that part. But so I'm wading through all of my grandmother's stuff, and there are also 4 storage units that we need to finish going through of my stepmother's. But on my grandmother's stuff, there's every single bank statement and utility bill going back prior to 1953. I'm serious. I'm legit. There are boxes and boxes and the long old school file boxes. Half of her closet was full of paper, and all the stuff needs shredded. And I can hear you going, well, it's 50 years old. Just tear it up. Well, just burn it. Throw it out.
Same bank account.
Yeah, they had the same bank account, which I'm still using for all of their estate stuff. So it's, oh, yeah. So,
well, we just need a burn pile. That's what it is. Just let it bonfire.
Yeah, and I just, I need your, please send me all the wide awake vibes, you know, like, I accept any and all caffeine donations. Because there's a lot of shredding in my future. a lot of shredding.
We need to find one of the, was it Ron White called it evidence get rid of other machines?
Yeah, this is, whew. So, and then preparing for the garage sale to end all garage sales. So that's also what's been going on in Sarah's world. Sarah is exhausted and educating children and cleaning things out and Sarah needs a nap.
Yeah, and I'm helping the way I help, which is not much, sadly. But okay, that's you know that's something that I think I need to work on over the next couple of days. But guys, if you were busy house cleaning, estate cleaning, or whatever that you want to do, look us up on social media: Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr. Look up Because Maybe Pod. That way you can keep up.
Put us on in the background. Put us on in the background.
Yeah, put us on in the background. Have a listen while you're working on it. Look up our blog, BecauseMaybePodcast.wordpress.com. That's kind of where all of our news and everything like that's going. And if you were on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, search Because Maybe Podcast, you'll be able to see it. You'll get sample episodes on our YouTube channel and on the Spotify and Apple Podcasts, I guess, channels or feeds. You'll get full episodes of the podcast as well. So, guys, we are going to take a break here, and we're going to be talking about the debut of an iconic writer who, for some reason, decided to change the name of her book internationally. Don't know why. Still to this day, don't know why. Cannot find out the reason why. But we're going to be looking at Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Sorcerer's Stone, if you live on this side of the pond. We'll be right back.
Review Corner, the written word.
Okay, guys, we are now looking at the first of 3 novels that was written by J. Rowling in the 1990s. See? The movies came out in the 2000s, but the books?
Yes.
1997.
Yes.
And they were actually started writing a long, long time before that. This is basically the debut novel of J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Yes.
I don't know which word is harder to say.
I'm not sure why it was changed, but I mean, that's Scholastic did that, not
Rowling.
Yeah.
Well, Bloomsbury went with it, so I don't know. The two biggest kids book publishers in the world couldn't get a simple wizard word correct. That's awesome. This was released in June of 1997 in the United Kingdom and September of 1998 in the United States. So we kind of, like I said, just falls into the 90s category there.
But we'll take it.
We'll take it. Hey, look, 97 is a lot better than, say, 1999, which is what we did Blink-182. So,
Right.
It's a normal book. It is, right? I mean, I've reviewed a couple of books that are not quite normal, so to speak. But what I mean is linear structure in third person. The only thing that it has in here that might be considered a little unusual is there's a 9-year narrative jump at the beginning of the book.
Yeah, but that's mainly a prologue.
Yeah,
right. It's fine. I
mean, you don't need to know Harry's formative years, I guess.
I know, but there's a few things that are mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's done in exposition.
Right.
I guess more. And I think it needed to be an exposition because, nobody would buy the book Harry Potter and the Trip to the Hairdressers.
Yeah, right.
So this book, basically, is Harry Potter is an average 11-year-old boy who lived with the Dursley family ever since his parents died in a car crash. For some reason, the family always mistreated him. On his 11th birthday, a giant man named Rubeus Hagrid hands him a letter telling him he's been accepted as a student at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Harry learned that his parents were wizard and killed by the dark wizard Voldemort, a truth that was hidden from him all these years.
Yes.
He embarks on a new life as a student, gathering 2 good friends in Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger along the way.
Yes.
And they soon learn that something very valuable is hidden inside the school, and Lord Voldemort is eager to get his hands on it. So that's I mean...
All right, y'all are going to have to forgive me on this. I have opinions with a capital O on this series.
Yes, she does, and we will get to some of them today. Yeah, you need to go get a drink.
I have more opinions on the machinations of Albus, Dumbledore than I do on the JFK assassination. So,
and just for people who think so what, just remember that in our living room hangs the front page of the Dallas Gazette, or the Dallas News, the day after Kennedy was shot.
Yeah, I'm a big Kennedy buff. So that's really saying something to most people that be like, well, yeah, that's what I mean. No, that really does mean something.
So how did this book come about? How? I mean, it's an interesting story when you think about it, right? Because it does deal with a lot of Joe Rowland's personal life. And, apologies if I got any of this wrong. I've done research and double-checked the sources and stuff like that, and if it's incorrect, please don't sue me. It's an honest, genuine mistake.
All right.
So, and if I am telling you something wrong, and it's wrong, and she finds out about it, tell her to contact me. We'll straighten it out.
Yeah, right.
Wink. But no, this book was first conceived by Rowling in 1990. Mm-hmm. She was living in Manchester, and she was traveling down to London, and they had like a 3-hour delay, and the idea of a glasses wielding wizard child formed in her head, which, you know, is probably not the best way to describe it, but at the same time, you know, it was what it was.
All right.
Sadly, in December of that year, Rowling's mother passed.
Yes.
And her own grief was kind of pumped into the character. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it kind of was cathartic in her writing. And that's also where the inspiration for the Dementors, which is a character that's introduced in the third book,
yes,
came from. So in 91, she moved to Porto in Portugal to become an English teacher. Mm-hmm. Teaching the locals English. She met and married a Portuguese journalist, but fled for Scotland in 1993 with her only 3 chapters written in her suitcase, allegedly fleeing from a life of degradement and domestic abuse. Right. Allegedly. Just I want to keep pumping that word out there. I'm saying in inverted commas too, but I'm pumping the word allegedly out there.
Only so we're not sued.
Yeah, only so we're not sued. Because we're a mom and pop operation. What do you want? You take my computer? That's all I got, you know. So in the next few years, Rowling spent her time trained to be a teacher, mm-hmm. while living on British welfare system. Mm-hmm. And she described herself as, quote, as poor as you could be without being homeless, as a single mother. Mm-hmm. So basically she would get her stuff, go to cafes, write Harry Potter in public. You know, it's the only way basically to get the kid to sleep. Take her for a walk when she passed out, go to the nearest cafe, write a few, right, you know, and get going.
Right.
After the book was written, it took her 2 years shopping it around for somebody to go, hey, we might want this book.
Right.
Which is weird when you think about it now, but, you know, again, this was her debut.
Right.
So, you know, it wasn't something like, say, Roald Dhal, you know, which, by the way, there's a lot of Roald Dahl influence in this book.
Yes.
Aunt Marge, for example, is classic Roald Dahl bad guy, you know?
Very much so.
Lack of intelligence, portly. That's Roald Dahl villain right there in 101.
Okay, well, having said that, stop for a second.
Go ahead.
Because who played Aunt Marge?
Very true. Very true. Who played Aunt Marge, everybody? The Trunchbull.
The Trunchbull.
And she was the evil headmistress in a Roald Dahl novel. Mm-hmm. Now looking back on it, I don't think that's a coincidence anymore.
No.
I think, yeah. Which is a shame, really, because the actor, Pam Ferris, I think her name is, was like Britain's mother, you know? She was Britain's equivalent of Florence Henderson. Right. You know, she was beloved, and playing these two characters, everybody's like, oh, she can be mean, you know? Mm-hmm. But the reason this book got published, after 2 years of shopping it around, is it somehow ended up in the hands of Bloomsbury Publishing. Their chairman gave his daughter the first chapter, and she loved the book and was like, okay, where's the rest of it? All right. I want it now. And when you hit your target audience like that straight away, bang. I mean, that's the same way that The Hobbit got published. Right. So if you were an aspiring author, you need to make sure that your publisher or potential publisher has an 8-year-old child. Because The Hobbit, Harry Potter, they came from 8-year-old kids going, man, this is a great book. All right. The initial print of this was only 1,000 copies.
Yeah, if you have a first edition, you've got bank.
I think 33 grand was the last one.
Yeah, that's
$50,000.
Yeah, I would hang on to that for a minute.
But here's the thing: only 500 of those copies went to bookstores.
Oh wow!
The other 500 copies straight into libraries.
Wow!
So this proves two things: one, badger the publishers until you get a deal; and two, support your local library. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, like I said, that gave, you know, that's a story in itself. That could be made a movie. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, just getting the book published to the first idea to the time it was published, that's a lot of life.
Yes.
In that 7-year period. You know, and, you know, as we know now, the rest of this is history. Joe Rowling is one of the wealthiest authors on the planet. Mm-hmm. Successful. She started writing, not necessarily the Harry Potter series, but she's had some other books that she's published as well. Consulted on all the movies.
She's been busy. Put it mildly.
Yeah, she's been busy. Her success came at the right time, I think.
Yes.
Because you got to remember, in the mid-90s, we just had Jurassic Park a few years earlier. The comic books were not quite there. Book adaptations, as we covered, weren't exactly great. And then all of a sudden, there was a vacuum in children's literature, especially in the UK, after Roald Dhal passed.
All right.
And they needed something to fill the void. And this was as well written, as quirky, and as what's the word? For fantasy. It was much a fantasy word. Yes, it was much a fantasy word as something that Roald Dahl would do.
Right.
So I'm using the Roald Dahl comparisons. I'm not saying that she is, but I mean it's like we discussed with music when Kurt Cobain committed suicide, there was a gap in the music scene,
right.
And Oasis and Britpop took over. And so
things
on and so forth.
Those things do tend to leave a vacuum.
So let's look at the characters in this movie.
Alrighty, what
in
you
this
got?
book. I keep saying movie. We're talking about the book today.
I know.
Because there is differences between the book and the movie,
big difference.
Big differences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically, but this is broken down into several different categories of not necessarily importance, but in terms of role, right?
Right.
So you have the kids. You have Harry Potter, who is the boy who lived, survived a murder attempt when he was a baby. Was he 18 months old?
Yes.
And now is like, the most famous wizard in the whole world.
Right. And all he wants is a cauldron cake.
All he wants is a cauldron cake.
A pumpkin pasty.
Pumpkin pasty. Some pumpkin juice. And for Ron to stop talking for 5 minutes. His best friend is Ron Weasley, his trusted sidekick. A little bit of a idiot.
Pain in the butt. In the butt. In the behind. Yeah.
Member of one of the poorest families in the wizarding world.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Hermione Granger, Harry's best friend, the smartest kid in the entire school of all years.
Yes.
And also what's known as Muggleborn, which we'll get to what that means here in a few minutes, okay? And which is, I only just realized that right now. You've got a half-blood, pure blood, and a Muggleborn as the three main protagonists.
It's on purpose.
I understand it's on purpose, but it's one of those things that only just clicked.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you found out that I was 34 years old? Then you have Neville Longbottom, classmate Harry's, the bumbling fool and comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
Draco Malfoy, who I've got right here, the anti-Harry.
Yes.
Like a lot of bad guys in a lot of things are not on the level of the hero, whereas Malfoy and Harry are basically the same person from different ends. He's arrogant, stuck up, rich, and just flaunts it everywhere.
His father will hear about this.
Shh. By the way, Jason Isaacs, if you follow his Twitter feed.
I love him.
Then you have the twins, Fred and George Weasley.
Yes.
They are beaters on the Quidditch team.
Mm-hmm.
And basically act
You could have a whole episode just on Quidditch.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. They are Ron's older brothers, but they also take Harry under their wing, too, and kind of treat him like a little brother as well.
Right.
Then you have Percy Weasley.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, Percy.
I like Percy.
He was an arrogant, pompous, stuck-up
He was
fool.
a male, older Hermione.
Without the intelligence.
No, he was highly intelligent.
Or the likability.
Well, in the beginning, Hermione wasn't liked.
Well, only for like half of the first book.
Okay, well, Percy never had a troll in the bathroom to make people like him.
Oh, well, that's true. He would have told everybody, stay away from the troll, I am head boy.
Mm-hmm.
Then we
was expelled.
Yes, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go to professors. Sarah's favorite character in the whole series. Albus, Wilfred, Percival, Brian Dumbledore.
Mm-hmm.
He's the headmaster, and he's considered at this time, the greatest wizard of his age.
Mm-hmm.
Can you argue
Opinions
that
with the capital O.
Well, it's asterisk for a reason. At the time, nobody knew what was going on. Then you had McGonagall, who was his number 2, Professor of Transfiguration, a cat, and the head of Harry's house.
Yeah, McGonagall's awesome, though.
Oh, yeah. Maggie Smith, too, was awesome, too.
Oh, God, love her. adore her.
Then you have my favorite character in the whole series, Severus Snape, the potion master,
Yes.
high advisor to Dumbledore, but is a bully to everyone but Slytherin students, and is the head of Slytherin House. Then you have Quirinus Quirrell? I can't pronounce.
Quirinus Quirrell.
Quirinus Quirrell, yes. And who's Quirinus Quirrell?
That is the paranoid, nervous professor of defense against the dark arts teacher. He always wore a turban, which, as we find out later, disguises a spirit of Voldemort, which has possessed him.
Which is, ugh,
Yes.
you know. That purple turban, by the way, did not suit him. Should have been
No.
black. Anyway, that's just an
And
opinion.
for those who read the books, you would notice that at one point in time in the book there is a snowball fight, and Fred and George inadvertently pelted Professor Quirrell in the back of the head when he happened to be walking by the snowball fight.
Didn't they enchant the snowballs?
No, well, they might have. It's been a minute since I read it, but it should be noted in the book that Fred and George got first shot at Voldemort by pelting him repeatedly in the face with snowballs.
He who shall not be shamed.
Yes.
Then you have the tiny Professor Flitwick, who is the
Yes.
Professor of Charms, head of the
Yes.
Ravenclaw House, and the Professor of Herbology, Professor Sprout, who is the head of the Hufflepuff House.
Yes.
Which, you're my people.
Hufflepuffs are the freaking bomb, man.
They are awesome. They are the best of the rest.
I mean, according to Pottermore, I am Slytherin through and through, but...
Yeah, well, Slytherin and a Hufflepuff.
Are you Hufflepuff?
Yes, I am.
How did I not know that my own husband was a Hufflepuff?
Oh, I don't know. It's part of my nerdism. But yeah, I went to Pottermore, took the test. I'm Hufflepuff.
Cool.
No, because you're Slytherin.
Really? We're going there?
No, we're not. Not
Good.
today, anyway. We'll do an extra episode one day.
Okay.
There's other staff at Hogwarts, not just the professors. You have Filch,
Yes.
who is the janitor,
Yes.
disgruntled.
Yes.
Then you have Rubius Hagrid.
Who is the man?
Yep. Robbie Coltrane played him in the movies perfectly, I think. Mm-hmm. Even when I read it the first time, before the movies were cast, I could see
Right.
Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah.
He's a half-giant groundskeeper and friend to Harry and Dumbledore, one of his advisors. You had Madame Pomfrey.
Who does not get paid enough?
No, he doesn't.
She doesn't.
She doesn't? Madame Pomfrey?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I thought, yeah. Madame Pomfrey, matron of the medical facility. Yeah, that's a thankless job. You've got her, you've got Bone Crusher, Star Trek.
All right. No, but stop for a second, though, right? You've got all these children locked in a building, essentially.
Yeah.
It's a very big enchanted building, but it's still a freaking building.
Yeah, it's a boarding
right?
school.
Okay. So you've got all of these children who all carry around with them potential deadly weapons all day, every day. And they're learning how to use these.
Oh.
So think of all the crap that she has to fix on a... This isn't, like Jimmy's homesick or Sally slipped and busted her knee open. I mean...
You've grown an extra head. I've got something for that. Just sit out.
Right, I know, right? I mean, this is insane to me. But go ahead.
Well, no, she is very, very...
And she didn't have a backup.
No, she was it.
There were no nurses.
Well, I'm pretty sure if something big went down... Well, no,
I
they
mean,
didn't. They didn't, did they? No, it was just her.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, every now and then they would send somebody to Mungo's, but I mean, even in the second book with everything that went down,
Yeah.
they didn't send anybody to Mungo's.
That's weird.
Isn't it?
I just think our school nurse would give us, Tylenol and tell us to get on our way. But I've broken 3 legs. Tylenol.
Right.
Robitussin.
Well, I mean, in canon and in the books, when things got really bad, the person who brewed the potions is technically able to administer them. So Snape would be of assistance.
And if it was Malfoy, he'd be there straight away, massaging his feet.
I have opinions on that with a big O as well.
Well, we'll talk about that here in a minute. Then you've got Madam Hooch, who is the official Quidditch instructor and broomstick instructor. So basically driver's ed for 11-year-old.
Yeah, let's give them a mode of transportation and a deadly weapon at 11 and see how that turns out.
Here's the thing, though, right? It's like the equivalent of giving a kid a road sweeper.
Yeah.
They have a vehicle, and they can clean up at the same time.
You're horrible.
I know. Then you have the Salting Hat, which is a character. in and of itself.
Yes.
It's an enchanted hat who is able to determine your house.
He talks smack.
Then you had Nearly Headless Nick, the House of Gryffindor Ghost. Now, the other houses had ghosts too, but they didn't really say anything, so we don't care about them.
You're missing someone.
Who am I missing?
Peeves.
Peeves, yes. I forgot about Peeves.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, anybody who doesn't watch, anybody who's only who tends to do Potter straight from the movie instead of the book, Mrs. Peeves.
Well, and that's a shame because they did actually film Peeves in the first book, played by the late, great, awesome
Rick Mayall.
And when you read the book, that's the only person who could play him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if it's been a while since you read the book, or if you haven't read the book, and you're wondering who and what we're talking about, just really, I mean, you could take Rick Mayall's character in Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah, pretty much.
And put Fred as a poltergeist who is able to terrorize a bunch of students in a building.
Yeah.
Constantly. And that's Peeves.
Yeah, definitely. It's Rick Mayall to a T.
Yes.
And I think the character was inspired by Rick Mayall, which then in turn he played him and his scenes were cut, but it was still an inspiration. That's what I've read in the past.
Yes.
You have the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Oliver Wood, Katie Bell, Alicia Spinnet, and Angelina Johnson, who also play a little bit of a part in here. You've got the Dursleys, Harry's aunt, uncle, and cousin, who treated him like crap for 9.5 years.
Yep.
And then you have Molly and Ginny Weasley.
Yep.
Ron's mother and sister, respectively. Ginny's kind of shy. Goes beet red.
Well, she has a crush.
She has a crush. Oh,
she loves
him. And Molly Weasley is, I wouldn't want to meet her in the dark alley.
Yeah, well, again, I have opinions.
Yes, we know. And then we have Lord Voldemort, who is evil wizard killed by a backfiring killing curse, but then possesses Quirrell 9.5 years later.
Yes.
So that's kind of who the characters are. Those are the main characters anyway in the book. Excuse me. I keep saying movie. There are 9 characters in the main characters in the book.
Right.
They're the ones that get the plot along. Now let's get some of these elephants out of the way first. What's up with Dumbledore?
Do I need to do my Dumbledore rant now? Actually, I can do the beginning of it now.
You do the beginning of it now.
Okay. So, well, I mean, it ties in with... Okay, here's the thing. Dumbledore is not just the headmaster of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. He is the head of the Wizengamot. He's also the supreme mugwump in the International Federation of Wizards, ICW. I'm quoting that. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so if I've got my acronyms wrong, y'all hit me up. But anyway.
So for those people listening not knowing what the heck we're talking about, he's basically the Supreme Justice of the High Court in the Wizarding world and the head of the UN?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, and, he runs the school. So he's a little thin. He's spread a bit thin. Any one of these positions is more than a full-time job in and of itself. Being spread so thin, he can't possibly do any position justice. I mean, how is he going to do all that? Where is he going to be in all of that? I mean, the Wizengamot meets frequently. The ICW, I mean, even if it met seasonally, there's still. And then running a school. So, there's that. There's also the fact that he is one of the most manipulative characters that, I mean, he's presented as this lovely, eyes twinkling, would you like a lemon drop, sparkling,
genial old man.
Yes, a nice grandfather. And as the books go along, as the story unfolds, he is horrible.
His hat slips.
I mean, I almost prefer Voldemort just because Voldemort doesn't lie about the fact that he's a self-serving jackass. Dumbledore can try to dress it up for the greater good all he wants to. And I realize now, and Rowling did an amazing job with this because, characters have layers and no one is just good or bad. We all have that
Shades
battle within us, right? But Dumbledore is Dumbledore is the Antichrist of the Harry Potter book world.
Wow. That's a bold statement. But
well, I mean, he's presented
true.
as, everybody wants to unite behind him. I mean, we're taught that the Antichrist, he preaches peace and this, that, and the other, and is the symbol of good, and then they reveal who they are.
Well, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Right. In the 6th book, which we're going to touch briefly on the other 4 books, on next week.
Oh, yeah, because there's an arc. Yeah.
But it's an interesting line that Rowling wrote when they met Professor Slughorn for the first time. Mm-hmm. And Dumbledore said, and I quote, Horace prefers the back seat, more room to stretch out. He never wanted to be a leader.
Right.
Can you say that's basically Rowling foreshadowing the hammer that she's about to drop on Dumbledore? Because remember, this man's been offered the role of Minister for Magic so many times, but he refused it to be more than a mere headmaster.
Yeah, but he was never a mere headmaster.
But you know what I mean? Just like, instead of being the kind of like Voldemort, not the outright face of the evilness.
Right.
Just somebody working behind the scenes trying to manipulate everybody to get his own way.
Oh, I mean, Dumbledore played. I mean, he was puppet master. I mean, flawlessly.
Oh yeah,
flawlessly. He manipulated. I mean, children from a very young age.
Not that way.
No, not that way. But I mean, he manipulated children from a very young age to mold them into what he wanted.
But wouldn't that clash with his role? Wouldn't that be part of his role as headmaster, though, wanting to make productive members of society, or is it just, manipulative brainwashing?
Okay, so we're gonna look. So I'm gonna speak here in the overall Harry Potter arc here, and not just limited to just this one book.
Yeah.
So
cool.
If you haven't read them, spoilers. Here's the thing. You could go back to the Marauders, right? Which is Harry's parents there, and Snape, that era. The incident with Snape, where Sirius tries to get Snape killed. Basically, where Sirius tries to have Lupin kill Snape. And you can dress it up any way you want to. He sends Snape to a werewolf's den. What did he think would happen? Right? So, in that... Now, at this point in time, Snape, he's a half-blood, but he's in Slytherin. Up until this point, he had been trying to maintain a relationship, friendship, or whatever he could get out of it with a Muggle-born. But at the time, Dumbledore doesn't really approve of him. Either that, or he sees him as someone who he could use later. I don't know. But in that... all this goes down, and he basically firmly affixes Snape to the side of the dark, in the fact that he doesn't even punish Sirius and James James wouldn't have been punished because he's the one that saved him, but he doesn't even punish Sirius for nearly killing Snape, which is insane. And Snape isn't even allowed to tell what happened. And that plays out later when Harry and Draco get into that fight. And Snape calls for the same punishment in reverse. When Harry is... I want to say, is that one that was in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then later on... Okay, here's the thing. We know that, everybody knows Sirius is Harry's grandfather.
Godfather.
Right? Godfather. Grandfather. I'm still working on my caffeine, people. Bear with me. Well, here's the thing. John, who was his godmother?
I don't.
Alice. Harry should have gone immediately to the Longbottoms.
Ah...
If Sirius was not available, because Sirius gave Harry to Hagrid, per Dumbledore, right? Yeah. When he went after Pettigrew.
Right.
Harry should have gone to Alice. which would have put Harry being raised by Augusta.
Neville's grandmother.
Right, as brothers to Neville. And that was manipulated. And we're talking that whole situation right there. The Fidelis charm is said in canon, in interviews that J.K.'s done, in the books. It's not a simple spell. One has to be powerful to do it. There is nothing that anyone could ever say that would convince me, or quite a few people, that either Dumbledore didn't perform the Fidelis for James and Lily, making Pettigrew the secret keeper, changing it from Sirius to Pettigrew, or now Lily was quite talented, so she may have had the power to do so, but Dumbledore would have known. You can't tell me that they wouldn't have told him.
Oh, no, that's true.
Dumbledore knew, and even if he didn't, let's say he didn't. Sirius is in jail. Dumbledore is the supreme mugwump. Dumbledore pulled all those strings to get Snape out of trouble. Because Snape, basically to ensure that Snape is his lapdog, right? That he owes him a life debt to get him out of jail.
Right.
As supreme mugwump, whatever. Head of the Wizengamot. At no point does he pull any strings to just sit with Sirius. I mean, Dumbledore was the most accomplished legilimens of his time. All it would have taken was 2 minutes with Sirius, even without a trial, just making eye contact. And Dumbledore would have known that Peter was alive, that that Peter was alive, and that Sirius didn't do it, and could have gotten a trial, but he didn't do so. And most of us anti-Dumbledore people agree, because as it was said in the 6th book, he wanted Harry, he raised Harry
for the slaughter. No.
The best way to do that is to make a child malleable, to make a child dependent on your praise, to make and the best way to do that is to ensure that a child doesn't really think for themselves. So you put a child in an abusive situation and make yourself out to be the savior, so that way they listen to you. Well,
the thing is, though, that there's two holes to that argument, and, and let me explain them. The first one is year 5. Harry doesn't speak to Dumbledore for the whole year, and goes about his own way of doing things,
right? And
is successful at his way of doing things. You had the Dumbledore's army, the Ministry of Magic stuff,
right? But Dumbledore was pulling strings behind the curtains the entire time.
But Harry didn't know that.
But it doesn't matter. Dumbledore knew.
Now, the other part of it, Sirius did not know Pettigrew was alive until he saw the paper.
No, he didn't know where he was.
No, he said he didn't know he was alive.
Okay.
And then when he saw the newspaper of Scabbers on the back of Ron's shoulder,
okay,
that's what led to his escape, because he realized he's alive and he's near Harry.
Right.
So Dumbledore
but Dumbledore would have seen how that played out, though. Would have seen that Sirius went to go confront Peter, and that Peter blew the pipe up.
Well, here's the thing, though. Pettigrew was an unregistered animagus. So nobody believed that he's an animagus. He's not registered, number 1. Number 2, Sirius wasn't sent to prison for giving away Harry's parents' location. He was sent for murder, premeditated murder. They found no body except a finger. I don't even think Dumbledore could have pulled that.
To tell me that Dumbledore wouldn't have wanted to see him. But here's the thing: even if Dumbledore wasn't behind any of all that, the fact of the matter is that Dumbledore did nothing to assist. Even when he found out, even when he knew, right? Even after book 3. Yeah. Okay. Instead of bringing Sirius to the, back into society, he still kept Sirius prisoner, basically. he kept him dependent on him because he is the supreme puppet master. And after the events in book 4, that whole Lily's protection on his blood was bogus because Harry's blood flew through whose veins?
Yeah.
So there was no reason other than manipulation. Dumbledore firmly wanted Harry under his thumb and his thumb only. And he was not above whatever he needed to do to make that happen. And that curdles my stomach and makes me very ticked off. And I've gone on a...
No, that's actually, very, very insightful. I needed something like that. I think this needed something like that,
But yeah, Dumbledore's Antichrist. He and Bono.
Well, I'll go on my Snape rant next week.
Okay.
Wednesday, I should say.
Okay.
But then again, I'm not a fan of Dumbledore either. I just think that most of the, it's kind of like what you see in politics now these days, It's like, if something slightly quivers the way one group doesn't like it, then it's this person's fault. And if something goes the right way for somebody else, even though they had nothing to do with this person's, triumph.
Right.
And, I give credit where credit's due and criticism where it is due. And a lot of what you said about Dumbledore is correct, but there's also a lot of good he did, even if it was manipulation.
Yeah, but he manipulated through other people, though. I mean, like you and I were talking the other day about Molly Weasley.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay. So the Weasleys being, as you said, some of the poorest people in Britain.
In the wizarding world.
In the wizarding world. And it's not the fact that Arthur didn't have a good job. It's just most families in the wizarding world only had, between 1 to 3 children. You know what I mean? I mean, think about it. If you look at...
There's very few siblings at Hogwarts.
Right. But then if you look at the Weasleys and it's like, good Lord.
Get off her, man.
All right. Well, no, I just, I just want to sing Every Sperm is Sacred. So,
well, she had 4 kids in 3 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The whole Every Sperm is Sacred thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is that any family who is struggling that hard, you know what I mean? They are any attention that they get from higher ups is automatically going to be welcome. You know what I mean? They take a shine to it. And that's nothing wrong with them about it. But let's go back to book 1, and this ties in with book 1 nicely at the very beginning. Molly Weasley went to Hogwarts, right? Hogwarts, you take the train there and you take the train home. That's 2 trips. They also have Easter break. That's another 2 trips if people go home.
And Christmas. So it's 6 trips a year on the train.
Right. Okay, so 6 trips a year on the train. And when she's putting Ron on the train, he is her 6th child. 5th child. Yeah.
Is the twins.
Right. Bill, Charlie, Percy, the twins. No, 6th. You forgot Charlie or Bill.
No, well, you didn't.
Bill, Charlie, Percy, the twins. That's 5.
Well, no, it's technically 4 because you didn't put the twins on day 1 and then take another one day 2.
Well, no, okay, but regardless, right? Ron is her.
She's done this over 40 times.
Quite a few, right? Hundreds of trips on the express. So why is she walking around, acting, confused and wondering where platform 9 3/4 is? Loudly next to this bespectacled child with the scar on their forehead. I mean, for what other reason other than to draw him in, or it's just smacks of more manipulation.
And I'll be honest with that one. That one sounds a little bit of a stretch, but it's a plausible stretch. That makes sense.
Yeah, well,
I think that was just coincidental.
I digress.
I think that was coincidental in writing, as opposed to maybe,
In hindsight, it fits.
In hindsight, it fits, but it could be just coincidence.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's.
But I mean, you touched on that right there with the Weasleys being, some of the poorest wizards in Britain.
And pure blood, though.
They're pure blood, and that's the thing. This book, let's look at some themes. This book delves into the British class system, definitely. Basically, like in Britain, there are 4 classes. You have the pure blood wizards, that are old wizarding families with no biological muggles in their ranks at all. Then you have half-blood wizards, who are wizards who have at least 1 pure blood and 1 muggle parent. Harry, for example. You have muggle-born wizards, who are wizards whose family does not come from any magical background whatsoever.
Right.
So, like Hermione.
Right.
And then you have squibs, which are the opposite of muggle-borns.
Right.
Which are non-magical members of pure-blood wizard families.
That's what happens when you inbreed, but go ahead.
Yes. Poor Filch.
Yes.
It does lead to resentment and clashes. You know?
Right.
The purebloods hate everybody. The muggleborns hate the purebloods. The half-bloods hate both.
Half-bloods just want, to belong.
And the squibs, everybody hates them.
Which is really sad.
It is, and I think that that's an important. It's an important part of everything, because no matter how good Harry is, no matter how loved Harry is, no matter how inclusive he tries to be, it's Filch and the lady with the cats at the beginning. I can never remember her name.
Miss Fig.
He's always down on them.
Well, no, he was never down on Miss Fig. He loved Miss Fig, even though she sort of smelled like cats. But she's the one who Dumbledore sent to keep an eye on Harry.
His fingerprints are everywhere, aren't they? Yeah.
And who would babysit Harry for the Dursleys when they would just leave him somewhere to go on vacation.
Yeah.
And not take him. And of course Dumbledore knew this. But yet, I digress.
Yes, let's put him with the parents who were in St. Mungo's, who were tortured to death almost.
Well, yes, but that didn't happen until over a month later.
I thought it was around about the same time.
Nope.
Ah.
Nope. There was weeks to a month post James and Lily before Bellatrix and Barty Crouch Jr. got a hold of the Longbottoms.
I thought it was like within the week.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, fair
all
enough.
blown.
The school itself separates its students into 4 houses. Each house kind of values a different trait. Gryffindors value courage, bravery, nerve, and chivalry. Which is so funny because Ron is the least chivalrous person in the history of existence.
Yes.
Ravenclaw values intelligence, creativity, learning, and wit, which I was disappointed to not be a part of. Slytherin values ambition, cunning, leadership, and resourcefulness.
Yes.
It's also home to many of the powerful pureblood families.
And Lin-Manuel Miranda. But go ahead.
And then my people, the Hufflepuffs, value hard work, patience, justice, and loyalty.
Yes.
Each house, their values come from their founder.
Yes.
So, for example, the Slytherin house, Salazar Slytherin only wanted pureblood wizards at Hogwarts.
Yes, but, well... Are we doing this now?
No. We can do that another time. But at the same time, that's not exactly Dumbledore's fault either, right?
Oh no, that's not a Dumbledore thing. But that's also a period of time because at the time, Muggles were burning witches. So
that's true. That's true. Then you had Hufflepuff who said, "Look, I'll teach anybody who wants to come through those doors."
All right.
And Ravenclaw and Gryffindor were kind of in between them. But it did kind of do the whole, inter-school competition. Separate houses, different skills. Direct competition. You were better than a Hufflepuff. You were better than a Ravenclaw. Kind of basically showing a direct correlation between the British public school system, which in the US would be called the private school system. It led to a bullying culture.
Oh, definitely. Which the teachers did little to nothing to,
they took part in it.
Yeah.
Malfoy uses his family connection to get his own way all the time. Constantly, rags on Ron for being poor, rags on Hermione for being muggle-born. Everybody is mean to Neville.
Which is, horrific. Because
but
Neville is the bomb.
His arc through the rest of the books is fantastic. I think he's the true hero of the story.
Yes, but also if someone reads the books and not just watches the movies, because the movies leave so much out. Draco has a hell of an arc.
Oh, Draco has a good arc too. Yeah, don't get me wrong.
He starts off as this spoiled, pompous, rich kid and ends up as still pompous.
He goes from evil to neutral.
Yeah, but I mean, the further along he goes, it's shown that at his core, like up underneath everything that, Daddy taught him, he's not a horrific person.
He goes from lawful evil to neutral.
Well, whichever, but still.
Snape, on the other hand, he uses his position as potions master to harass and degrade any student who's not in his house. And regardless of his upbringing, regardless of how Dumbledore manipulated him, that is still a crappy thing to do. These are a bunch of people who are not even teenagers yet, and he's treating them like crap.
Are we doing this now?
No, that's going to be Wednesday.
Okay, because opinions with an O.
That's right. But Snape also bullies Quirrell. Like,
yes.
he rides Quirrell.
Which is hilarious.
For two reasons. One, of course, is because he wants Quirrell's job, which is one of Snape's arcs. Mm-hmm. But two, because Quirrell is a bumbling, incompetent fool. But, like Neville, Quirrell is treated like that, but you see his true nature at the end of the book, where Quirrell is actually a well-meaning, manipulative, person.
Well, I don't think he himself was manipulative. I think, remember the parasite.
That's true. But who would question for post stuttering Professor Quirrell?
Right.
Who is basically the bad guy in the books. Well, yeah, I guess you could say that, because, Snape does mutter that little counter curse and all that stuff. When they're doing the Quidditch and Harry's broom decides to, change to a buckaroo. Mm-hmm. This book does portray racism in a negative light. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Basically, Voldemort and his followers are equated to Nazis.
Yes.
Which they are.
Yes.
Sorry, but they are. Voldemort considers all non-purebloods beneath him and wants to enslave them or kill them. Most of Slytherin House is made up of purebloods, or at least half-bloods with enough wizards down the line where you can't see the Muggleborn. Mm-hmm. Harry's family treat him like dirt because he's a wizard. Which is really, really weird. And that's the funny thing about Aunt Petunia, too. She has an interesting arc in the sense that she knows about this existence, not just because her sister's a witch, but because she partaked in it for a while.
Oh, yeah. She grew up with Lily and Snape.
Yep.
And after, when Lily got her letter, she wrote Dumbledore.
And said, why can't I come?
This really long, impassioned, I want to go too. Don't take my sister away from me. And I think a lot of that explains why Petunia was the way that she was. Because she was so...
anti-wizard.
Well, she was... her sister was her world. And then this little greasy weird kid pops up. And but you got to look at where they came from too.
No, that's true.
When they describe Snape's upbringing, right? And in Cokeworth, and then the Spinner's Inn, and it's the last of Milltown, and it's run down, and it's
from
crappy, right? Yeah. But you have to remember,
she lived in that town too.
That's where Lily's from, and that's where Petunia's from. And so you've got these two little girls, and they're all each other have in this rough and tumble neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then, these people come, and, the first weird kid, and
then all these owls.
And then all Petunia wants to be is normal. She doesn't want to be broke. She doesn't want to live in this rough... She just wants... Her ideal is that upper middle class...
life that she has.
Yeah. All she wants is what's in the magazines. And that's what she has with Vernon.
Yeah.
And that's why she puts up with what she puts up with.
That's yeah. Yeah, that's a good... That's one of those things that hits you, because there's a lot of subtle things.
Psychological trauma will do a lot to somebody, man. It shapes who they grow up to be. And all Petunia wanted to be was normal, because being abnormal means
losing your sister,
losing your people.
Yeah. And see, the thing is, a lot of this stuff is so subtle I mean, he's my thing.
Rowling is amazing.
I think what happened is Rowling wrote this book just to write this book, right? Mm-hmm. And then made the universe and all the strings attached afterwards. She didn't plot out her whole characters and the character arcs until later on.
Right.
And she kind of referenced the first and second books as to keep continuity alive.
Right.
That's my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but that's how it seems. I don't think she had everything worked out in 1995.
Right.
You know. This book does deal with a lot of intelligence and shows how intelligence can be a benefit and not just a, nerdy Gitsworth, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Hermione is constantly rewarded as one of the smartest wizards in the school. Smartest witches in the school. Ron, not intelligent in traditional sense, but he's a very good chess player.
He's a master strategist. Ron isn't necessarily book smart, but Ron is good at big picture.
Ron can see the whole picture and then drill away through it.
Once he sees past himself.
Yes. I mean, just like that scene, just like that chapter of the book where they get stuck in the devil's snare. Mm-hmm. He's the one who comes up with the solution, not Hermione, who's panicking, wondering what to do. Mm. Are you a witch or not?
All right.
Ravenclaw prides itself on the level of intelligence that that they have, but not in a stuck-up way. Mm-hmm. It's just like, yeah, we're smart, and yeah, but
Ravenclaw can also be hateful little people.
Well, they're very direct, though.
No, look what they did to Luna. Hid all of her belongings.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
She was different.
That's true.
Ravenclaws are very much like Petunia. They're about status. But not in a
Slytherin status.
Not in a Slytherin status kind of way, but in a we need to be the cookie cutter. But see, Slytherins are we need to be we need to have the best of everything, whereas Ravenclaws are we need to be the best of everything, and as such, they're horrible to people who don't fit that mold.
That's true.
And I mean, look at who Marietta Edgecombe was Ravenclaw.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean,
opinions with an O, people.
Opinions with an O. With the exception of, I guess, Quirrell, anybody who's not intelligent in this series is not ridiculed for being unintelligent.
And Quirrell was smart. Quirrell just did the bumbling fool.
Yeah, and I think that's what it did. Rowling wrote very, very well that intelligence is not to be mocked, but incompetence is. Because Vernon Dursley is an intelligent guy. I mean, he ran a business from the ground up.
Yeah, he doesn't run it. He's one of the head insurance. He's one of the head people at a predominant insurance company.
I thought he owned the drill company. Oh, okay. Oh, and it's something new every day. But you get what I'm saying. It's only his incompetence in certain areas that gets him ridiculed as opposed to his lack of intelligence, And the great thing I like about this is they made a lot of people... Like, they put a lot of matchups in here. It was always Harry v. Draco that were on an intellectual level, Dumbledore v. Voldemort. Snape and McGonagall. You saying that she wasn't on his level intellectually?
I'm saying that I wouldn't have pitted them against each other.
But you get what I'm saying,
right?
By the time the whole series is over, basically, it's one of the things. But the problem with intelligence,
I would say more Snape v. Lupin.
Well, yeah, but Lupin hasn't been introduced yet.
This is true.
And it's Gryffindor v. Slytherin. They were always arguing over how to punish or how to reward their respective houses. But the problem with intelligence is that some people show pomposity. Percy, for example. The Slytherin guys,
Flint, etc.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, an excuse to be a pain in the ass. It does have, cliched fantasy elements in that, right? You got your wizards, witches, trolls, unicorns, magic, centaurs, ghosts, etc., etc., etc. So nothing in this book was really introduced to expand the magical world.
Right.
I mean, by the time book 3 and book 5 come along, we've expanded that tremendously with things like
Dementors, etc.
Dementors, and we'll get to those in a couple of weeks. The wizard chess scene.
Oh, that was fabulous.
Brilliantly
and scary
written.
as hell.
Yeah, brilliantly written. She got the right level of tension. And was able to show Ron's bravery.
Yes.
Which Ron was essentially the comic relief of the thing, but I mean he did have his moments where, it should be Ron Weasley in the Philosopher's Stone. And one thing I have to say, the only fantasy element that I had was the 3-headed dog. Fluffy.
The Cerberus?
Yeah, Cerberus, basically. Joe Rowling wrote Cerberus into her book and then gave it to Hagrid.
Right, yeah, which is hilarious.
Hagrid was Elvira. I will love him, and I will pet him, and I will...
Right. And Norbert.
Oh, Norbert. I forgot about Norbert. Mm-hmm. Oh, my word. Yes, the
he
dragon.
He knows his mummy.
He knows his mummy, yes. So, with all that said and done, I think this is a 7 out of 10 book.
Yes.
It's a great start to a series.
Yes.
It was written a little, quote-unquote, childish.
Oh, yeah, but
it was designed as a kid's book.
Right.
And I don't think Rowling knew how big the series would become, but by the time book 3 comes around, the writing is a little bit more mature.
Oh, yeah, but it's written for the audience, and the audience was intended to age with Harry.
The books,
right.
Yeah. So, but what I mean by mature is it doesn't feel like a teenage book, say in book 4.
Right.
It feels like an all ages book.
Right.
But even for a kid's book, I think that first chapter was just a little bit silly. That little bit kiddie, Mr. Dursley lives in it, just kind of.
Well.
But the rest of it, I mean, as the book goes on, it gets less and less childish, and then by the time book 5 comes along, it's written not necessarily as an adult version of the book, but
right.
For all ages. So
right.
I say 7 out of 10. What do you give it?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10?
Yes.
Nice. Any particular reason?
Well, I mean, it lays a lot of groundwork. And even if she wasn't necessarily, even if she didn't necessarily have everything plotted out, you know what I mean? As far as the rest of the series goes, she did an amazing job with continuity.
She planted a lot of seeds.
Right. That she was able to expound on later. So for the beginning of a series, it's wonderfully done.
Definitely. All right, so we will be back here in a couple of minutes. Well, I say a couple of minutes. We'll be back in about 30 seconds, but, it'll be a couple of minutes for us. But we'll go ahead and close this out. Sarah, thank you very much. This has been welcome. Awesome. And we'll be right back.
Alrighty.
All right, guys. Thanks very much for listening to that.
And thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for having me. You're more than welcome. You were my you my favorite co-pilot.
Oh, bless.
Because it's just easy to wake you up first thing in the morning and say, "Hey, let's get recording." No, but it's convenience and stuff like that. Couple things.
Convenient. Thank you.
Well. I could make a joke right there, but it's not going to be appropriate.
Nope.
Okay, guys, just a couple of things before we leave.
Yes.
Like I said, we're going to have a special Wednesday Halloween episode where we talk about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Yes.
Perhaps the scariest book in the whole series.
It's up there.
Yeah. And then obviously we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled programming on Saturday where we round out the Harry Potter in the 90s with the Prisoner of Azkaban. Also, just want to let you guys know that we are actually in talks to get other folks on the podcast, so it's just not the me, Sarah, me, Greg, me, Tara kind of plot. We have a couple of guys coming in over the next couple of weeks. I hope think you'll be excited to hear some new voices and everything like that.
Yes.
Not that we, I love having Sarah on, I love having Greg on, I love having Tara on, but Tom, we need to make more voices.
We need new blood.
We need new blood, yes. Yeah. And I'll give you more information next couple of weeks as it's going on. That, and hopefully by this time next weekend, we should have our store and our Patreon page up.
Yes.
So now again with the store, if you notice my Facebook post today, I put we're being delayed because of a problem at studio. Guys, this is a competition. If you want to win when we get the store up, a small box of goodies. What do we call the studio? We need something that you know, like
encapsulates the insanity.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's this is a hideout. What should we call the hideout? You know, best one, we'll name the studio after that, and we'll go ahead and send you a box of goodies. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, guys, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr, look at Because Maybe Pod. Look at our blog, BecauseMaybePodcast.wordpress.com. Look us up on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Woohoo!
Yay! Search Because Maybe Podcast. You'll get everything that you need on there. And like I mentioned, next time you hear us will be Wednesday night on our special Halloween. Ooh. And then we'll round off the Harry Potter series next Saturday. So until then, guys, have a great time. We will speak to you Wednesday. And I'm out.
Bye.
Ha 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 ha!